Welcome, everybody, to Hump Day Happy Hour with Dennis in the Know. This is your backstage look at current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. It's live, and it's over a cocktail, and I'm with these guys. That was an easy one today. Easy one. That's Dr. Jennifer Bell to my left and Dr. Chad Duplantis to my right. We're all catapult educators, business owners, and we are all dentists. Our job is to bring you all in the know. So welcome, everybody, and cheers.
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 How are you guys? I missed you last week for Thanksgiving.
We missed you too, Jeff. It was so sad without you.
Tell me more.
It was very quiet. It was very somber. I even made you a really nice video.
I watched it.
Okay, good. There you
It
go.
didn't make you cry.
Then it was perfect. It was perfect.
I was a little verklempt.
I haven't heard that in a long time. I love it. That was good.
Yeah. JB, how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Really good. Yeah.
I miss the two of you. It's so good to see your faces again.
Same.
Good to see
Glad
you.
you're back to the
I'm back.
world of things.
I'm back in the living, and I've got to let the cat out of the bag. And you guys were very nice to kind of keep it under wraps. But I was down with COVID last week, and I just want to tell everybody that is serious business. I kind of know where I got it. Let my guard down in an airport restaurant, and I'm 99% sure that's where I got it. The good news is I'm fine. But I will tell you, it really isn't a joke. It really does a number on your immune system. And it's, I was tired. I still am. I'm probably going to be drunk by the end of the show because this is my first drink of alcohol in 2 weeks. But really, I just wanted to sleep for 2 weeks. I didn't want to do anything. It was a bad sinus infection, never went to my chest. And in fact, still have pressure in my head and still want to go to sleep, but I'm not gonna.
Well, you know, Jeff, I got two things for you. One is that prior to you catching COVID, you were with me at my home, and we had a great weekend and a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. Family loved Mr. Dr. Uncle Jeff. My son talks about you every night. And asks how you're doing every night, by the way. So he'll be glad to hear that you're doing well. But you left and you texted me and were like, dude, if I don't catch this at the Atlanta airport, then something's not right. You knew it.
I did. So, I texted Jenny and I said, I'm coming home with it.
Yeah. So you left. And then the next week was Thanksgiving. So Ellen's 92-year-old dad, my wife's 92-year-old dad, was supposed to come on Thanksgiving with us. So we all went and got tested. And I will tell you that if we would have tested positive, you would never be allowed back at our home. Actually, Ellen never said that.
I love the
Is that really because of the COVID test?
But we were
right. There's so many better reasons.
So many reasons why you shouldn't
we were
back
getting tested regardless. So, anyways, my wife is like COVID freak. I mean, I love her dearly, but she's like totally freaked out about COVID. So I didn't tell her anything about you testing positive on that Sunday following when we were together. So middle of the night on Sunday, I go to bed up before her all the time. So I wake up in the middle of the night at like 1 o'clock and I look around and I'm like, what's up? And she looks at me and she goes, you didn't tell me that Jeff has COVID. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, when were you going to share this with me? And I go, well, honey, here's the deal. You're getting tested tomorrow. I'm getting tested on Wednesday. What the hell does it matter? You know? And of course, we all tested negative. So we know that you got it in the Atlanta airport. So I'm sorry, Jeff, but you were in our hearts. You were with us all week. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your practice, if you don't mind, because I think there's a lot of people that want to know what's going on.
Yeah. So it's funny. I came back and I was actually going to start back to work this week and found out that two of my employees, and I had not been back to work, so I did not give it to my employees, but 2 of my employees ended up testing positive this week. It's really the numbers have really spiked here in South Carolina the last 2 weeks. And so one was from my satellite practice and one was from my main practice. And I was like, I just got to shut it down because there was so much crossover between the people who had all been in contact at that point that I just couldn't take the chance. So, we're one of the fortunate ones. We've, thank God we're actually in a small group. We're actually ahead of last year. I don't know how. It's just been great. Things have been wonderful here. We've been able to get back to some normalcy. But, with that said, I don't want to be greedy. I'd rather keep everything safe. So everyone was cool with it. I sent a text out. I said, I think we should just shut it down and not spread it amongst ourselves and not potentially give it to any of our patients. So that's what we did. So the office was closed. What I will tell everybody is please take these few things. Please make sure you're taking a regular dose of vitamin C, vitamin D3, zinc, at least while this is going on. And if by chance you should test positive, then the recommendation is vitamin D3, 5,000 units, 5,000 milligrams, vitamin C, 500 milligrams, zinc, 50 milligrams. And I added something that actually my physician said, I totally agree with you. This is a good idea. Because they've seen so many microvascular clotting events, I added a baby aspirin to the regimen, and I'm still on the baby aspirin now. And that would be my recommendation. Again, I'm not a physician. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but my physician was completely in agreement with me for doing that. And so I think those are all good recommendations.
So, Jeff, I just got to tell you that I'm probably in deep doo-doo after we get off of this. My wife did comment on this, that she's glad that you're better and that you are still welcome here. And there was another comment that was great info on the vitamins. So I appreciate that. And I think that, when all this is over,
Someone wrote that COVID got caught in my goatee.
Yeah, it did. And Jenny will tell you that too. But Jeff, all seriousness, we are so glad you're better. JB and I were really worried about you. And you know what those texts look like when we worry about you. And we knew something was going on. So we're glad that you're better.
We appreciate it. And just everyone out there, stay safe. We're all good at keeping our guard up in our practices. Just make sure you're following those same protocols. And if you go into a restaurant, just kind of look over at the service stations, make sure everyone's wearing their masks over there and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And, that's what I saw at the restaurant is basically in the food service area and in the service station, they were rolling silverware. All of them had their masks down below their chin. And, there were 4 or 5 of them congregating. And I texted my wife. I said, I'm leaving here with COVID. And I knew it. It was too late at that point. But 5 days later, to the day, my symptoms started. So
were they just rolling silverware?
Just rolling silverware. All right, let's talk about what's on the show. Let's get this rolling. Everybody's tired of hearing about me. So, guys, I am so excited about the program tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about injectables, not the kind that get you in trouble, but we're talking about injectables with the dental authority on Botox and dermal facial fillers. Dr. Gigi Meinecke is with us on the show. And what would a DINKS episode be without our wonderful JB giving us the news? But first, it's happy hour. And I want to toast you guys and everyone out there for all the well wishes. Thanks to everyone. And I really want y'all to stay safe.
What are y'all having?
I've got a Pinot Grigio tonight.
A little light on the palate.
A
Since
little light on the
you
palate.
may not
Exactly.
taste it anyway.
How about you? What you drinking?
I am drinking an Orange Swift Abstract. It's
Very
got a
nice.
really cool bottle.
Yeah.
My favorites. Who's on that bottle?
No.
Elvis Aaron Presley.
Yeah.
Go out there and
That's
slay the king.
very true.
There he is. Yep.
There he is.
Hey, baby, look at the king.
Chat, what you got, buddy?
Stag.
Nice.
Oh, I love
Stag
it.
cab.
I
Yeah.
love Stag.
So we've all elevated our game a little bit tonight. It
We
seems.
have.
We did,
Yeah.
because
I
all of the
think that's
non-income that's coming in is promoting our wine habits.
Really?
Yep.
I've got my fuzzy jacket on, my red wine, my Fraser fir candle. I am just all cozy over here with Dana.
That's awesome. All right, JB. Well, why don't you give
You
us some
ready?
news? I think
Now
we're
I'll
ready for
crush
it.
everyone's Christmas spirit.
There you go.
The news.
Bah humbug.
And now back to reality, which is mostly not great. Okay, so let's go ahead and crash course into it. So there was a little bit more that came out about PPP in the last 10 days, a couple hot topics to watch for. Still, the overarching theme is to hang tight on your applications, especially if you're 50K and over. There's still a lot of guidelines that have not been released yet. And so the recommendations are still to wait. That being said, a couple of the preparatory items, there was additional language from the IRS that came out in late November that stated that expenses that you had during the PPP payout that you used during those 24 weeks, if it included payroll and rent, likely will not be allowed as tax deductions on your income statement come tax preparation season. Why does that matter? Because if that money can't be used as tax deductions, your tax burden likely will go up. So it's just a precautionary PSA to make sure that you're talking to your accountant and looking at scenarios both with PPP tax deductions being allowed and without tax deductions being allowed, so that you're prepared for either scenario. I think overall, probably dentists will fare okay, although I think that will hurt some practices. I do worry about small businesses in general, restaurants, bars, gyms that haven't been able to get back to full operating capacity. So if they don't get forgiveness on some of those deductions, I think the financial tax bill on that might be pretty burdensome. The other really important piece that they did make a statement on as well is that if you received an EIDL loan, that amount will be removed from your PPP forgiveness. So if you had $10,000 EIDL loan, that money will come off of what you'll be forgiven for PPP. So just make sure you have all those documents together, and that will be important for you to report when you're doing your applications. Any questions, boys? Are we good there?
Yeah, that's pretty depressing.
Yeah,
I
well,
do
let's
have a
just dive on
question.
in a little deeper. I'm not done yet.
When you say PPP, what do I say?
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
It's like hanging out with my dad, and it's the same bad dad jokes over and over and over.
Dad, you told that joke 20
Dad.
Thanksgivings ago. Look,
I
I'm down with it. I'm jiggy with it.
Actually, tonight you're Gigi with it.
You're Gigi with it.
I'm Gigi with it.
Well played, Chad. That makes up for your dad jokes. Another little interesting statistic, and this is in reference a little bit to some of the post activity that was happening today on DINKS, which was kind of exciting. That, you know, there was some discussion about how practices are faring during all of this and have some return back to normal. You know, Jeff is seeing a boom in business. I'm sure other practices are not quite seeing the same. And I think it's both practice specific, but also geographic specific, and what mandates and restrictions are being placed within those states. The ADA has been doing an economic impact survey every week, pretty much since COVID started. If you do get sent those, it's really important that you participate. They're very short. They only take a few minutes to complete, but it really does give them some good feedback on what's happening in the dental community. And certainly as they go and lobby on your behalf for these different legislative items that are coming up. They're armed with a lot of real-time data about what's impacting dentists from a PPE perspective, from a patient load perspective, economic impact, et cetera. So they are noting a slight downturn in activity. I thought that was interesting. I think overall, most practices will probably show a year-over-year slight loss from 2019. But they've noticed a slight downturn since the holidays have started. I also think that, to your point, Jeff, corresponds with the slight uptick in numbers. With COVID numbers increasing, a lot of states have really increased their restrictions once again. I was talking to somebody from California this week. They're back to curfew mandates, heavy lockdown. They can only leave their home for essential activities only and have to be able to demonstrate why they're traveling outside of their domicile. So I think, different practices are certainly going to be impacted uniquely given whatever mandates are being put in place. But it is interesting to see as a nation, we're seeing another downturn, maybe in dental activity. So I'll continue to watch those numbers coming out.
So I totally agree with that. And to your point about, the activity that we saw on DINKS today, is, there was actually somebody who came on and said, one of our faves, Deuce, who is, one of our loyal followers, he was making a point that a lot of dentists are having issue and actually, suffering during this time because of the restrictions that have been put out there. And yes, there are several dentists like myself and some others in areas with very few restrictions. And look, I live in one of the least restrictive states in the country, and I'm very fortunate for that. But it's not lost on me that so many people practice in areas where lockdowns are either mandated or you're really made to feel bad if you do go out and there's not a mandatory lockdown. So, it really has so much to do with your geographic area, with, the socioeconomic tendencies of that area, and just individual circumstance. So,
well, and think about retirement areas that have a heavier demographic. If you have a patient population that tends more towards higher risk categories, you're going to see a downturn. I mean, right. I can see that in my own patient population. We just happen to have enough because it's a pretty diverse community. It's not a retirement community. It's a family community. So we're seeing those who still feel comfortable coming out. But I definitely know that we haven't seen many of our patients that are 65 and 70 and over.
Sure.
Or we're the first people they've seen outside their home in 6 months because they're venturing out to take care of a few well check items, but they're not really straying very far from home. So, I would think Florida and some of the other areas that are heavily retirement communities certainly would be experiencing a little bit of an impact from that as well. There was a House committee meeting last week on pandemic insurance, risk insurance. And so we'll be watching that as well. That would parlay with previous insurance changes they've made related to terrorism. Was probably the last major change that we've seen, where they covered acts of terrorism. I think most dentists experienced no coverage on business interruption related to pandemic issues. And I think most businesses in general found that what they were paying for business risk insurance wasn't actually going to cover them for a pandemic shutdown. And so there's a lot of activity right now on looking at increasing that language in insurance carriers, probably mandating that type of coverage moving forward for pandemic crisis. So that's something to watch, and we don't have a lot of guidance on it yet, but they are starting to actively discuss the impact. Lastly, there is some information coming out from the transition team for Biden about OSHA standards. And I think it's been expressed now that is a top priority for his administration to move forward pretty quickly with COVID-19 OSHA standards. As you know, we have bloodborne pathogen standards, we have hazard communication standards, the SDS sheets and all that. I think they're looking to create a new standard, which would be COVID-19 standards. There's a lot of activity, a lot of discussion about what impact that could have on a general dentist office. We obviously are an area that they've been watching very closely because of aerosols and environment exposure to COVID. So I think there's a lot of big players at the table trying to make sure that general dentists are somewhat protected and that some of these standards would not bankrupt the general dentist or dentists in general. If you would like some guidance on where that could go, the lead person for his OSHA transition team or working in that realm is coming out of California, where they have the emergency COVID-19 standard protocols in place. And I would imagine that some of those standards would be something we might see proposed as national standards. So we'll continue to keep a watch out on that. Obviously, that wouldn't even become part of the discussion until late January. But certainly something that needs some significant attention and potentially maybe some lobbying that might have to go into that moving forward. So I don't know, Elf, or I like candy canes, maple syrup. Can somebody say something happy and delightful?
Yeah, maple syrup on spaghetti, maple syrup on spaghetti.
I have some news.
Is it good?
I think so.
Okay.
So I got a couple of things. One is stay tuned at the end of the episode because we have a couple of big announcements on some things that are changing with DINKS in a good way. But the second is that I just want to reiterate to everybody that there was a very large corporation that came out today with a referral program for dentists, and it costs quite a bit of money. And if dentists, I wish I could elaborate on this, but I don't want to get us into any trouble. But if dentists really really looked into this, they would realize that it's not in their favor. It's kind of actually working against them. So I just want to share with everybody that's watching tonight that we have a great opportunity. And once again, this is at this point in time, this is a non-sponsored program. We have developed great friendships with manufacturers, with service providers, but Schedule Widget is a very, very good friend of ours. And please, we should develop a referral program within our network of Dentists in the Know to help people find dentists around the country and to help drive patients to every single one of our practices. Everybody who signs up for Schedule Widget will get a couple months for free, and you can choose to add on to the advanced or the platinum or the premium products, whatever you decide to do. But I can tell you that in my practice, it has been extremely beneficial, if I can freaking talk. Jeff, JB, you both have it on your websites. How's it done for you all?
Love it. And I mean, every weekend I get like numerous texts. So all that time when no one is in your office and you're getting all these texts saying, you have a new patient, you have a new patient, you have a new patient. And all you have to do is send a little text back that says, thanks for believing in us. We can't wait to meet you. Our office will be in contact with you to set up an appointment shortly. That's it. That's all you have to do. Whoever you designate gets that email. It is the biggest no-brainer in dentistry. And so I spoke with Eric from Schedule Widget yesterday, and they're ending their beta trial phase, which is where they were giving it away for free. Nice.
You need some more?
Yeah.
They're ending their beta trial where they gave it away for free, the basic to everybody. So, but Eric said that any of our dinks who sign up for Schedule Widget will get it for free. If they want to sign up for, the advanced or the add-ons, that's up to them. But the basic Schedule Widget, which brings more patients than you know what to do with in, is going to remain free for our dinks. But after December, the beta's over, and then everyone will go to a subscription model.
Right.
Can I speak to, so I had something similar on our website. It was a form you could fill out to request for a new patient, but it was kind of clunky and cumbersome and slightly embedded because it's not something you would put on your main page. You know, you're trying to kind of create your culture and your image of who you are as a practice. You don't want a Google form sitting right there as you open up the main website. So we put schedule widget on, and we're getting so much more activity through that because it's easier, and I can put a smaller presence on my main site. It's on the very first page as opposed to it being an embedded form. The other thing that I love actually is the social media part of it, because it makes booking through our social media platform so much easier than it used to be. I had to route them to our website to get to that clunky form. You know, everything just kind of was somewhat compartmentalized to try to route patients to us. It's made it a very seamless process. So, you know, as a practice that had a methodology for trying to get people to request new patient appointments online, this has made it a much smoother transition to do so.
Awesome.
Anyway.
I would agree 100%, and I would say do it. And I just got to throw a shout out. This is unscripted, but I'm going to throw it out there. You guys may be mad at me, but we signed up for Swell, and I pay for Swell. All I got to say is 35 Google reviews in 3 weeks that are 5-star positive, 5 additional reviews, so a total of 40 reviews in 3 weeks, and we're not even working it to its capacity. It has been amazing. And I am a huge proponent of adding Swell to your practice as well, because all it's doing is just pushing us up on our internet presence, and it's made life so much easier. So schedule widgets, Swell, it makes a lot of sense. Once again, we're not a sponsored program, folks. This is from the heart. We pay what you do for these products, but I will tell you, these two companies, I mean, work in tandem together and have been great. My team loves schedule widget and the way that it is communicating with them. So without further ado, remember, stay on for the announcements afterwards. But Jeff, you want to introduce our guest tonight?
No, I think we give the honors to JB. Do you know? I have her bio, JB.
You want to do it? Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I mean, I can speak personally. I didn't have her bio right in front of me.
Okay. No, I do. I didn't know, but you invited her. So
I did.
And I'm so glad that you had this idea, because Gigi is one of my favorite people. I got to know her through the Academy of General Dentistry. She's been such an active dentist in you know, not just about promoting what she does, but about advancing dentistry on so many levels through the ADA, through the AGD. And she is, as far as I'm concerned, the authority on Botox and dermal fillers in dentistry right now. So Gigi Meinecke, her organization FACES provides cosmetic and therapeutic injectable training for medical and dental professionals with a core focus on comprehensive facial anatomy. And our courses integrate cadaver studies with live patient injections. I have actually been to her courses, JB. I think you have too.
I haven't done it yet.
You haven't done it yet.
I can't do it in North Carolina.
It's absolutely awesome. And you want to talk about one of us. She is a down-to-earth, real dentist who just gets it. And if you're going to take one of these courses from someone, it's absolutely got to be from Gigi, because she is the bomb. And, you know, she even allowed people like me to not feel stupid in her class. Can you imagine that? So,
Jeff.
She's you're great. Well, Gigi's also the author of Start and Grow Your Cosmetic Injectable Practice. She's a past president of the Maryland Academy of General Dentistry. She's a past chair of the ADA Council on Communications. She's a spokesperson for the AGD and is part of the AGD Practice Council. Also a fellow in the Academy of General Dentistry, the International College of Dentists, and the American College of Dentists. She has a private practice in Potomac, Maryland, and it is my absolute pleasure to have you on. And I know for Chad and JB as well. How you doing, Gigi?
I am doing great. I'm so thrilled to be asked to be part of this wonderful growing group, DINKS. I'm so glad I learned about it because I've learned so much just in the episodes that I've watched. You guys are killing it. It's fantastic. If somebody is not in this group, I don't know where they're getting their information from. It's stellar. So
that's
thank
very
you.
sweet.
Thank you.
You're awesome. I really enjoyed getting to know you the few minutes beforehand.
Thank you.
And I'm going to step out so that the screen's not so cluttered and let Jeff and JB ask the questions, and I'm going to join in at the end.
Sounds great, Jet. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Well, do you want to give us a little background on how you got started? You know, your initial background's not in facial aesthetics. So what helped you kind of get to that leap or that next?
How did I get here from there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 2004, I gave someone an inferior alveolar nerve block. I took the needle out of their mouth and they looked up on me and said, "That's great. Now can you give me my Botox?" And I thought, well, that's kind of cute. And I didn't think too much about it until somebody else did the exact same thing. And I thought about it and I thought, well, you know, because I do have a background. I practiced nursing back with Florence Nightingale a little while ago. And I have the background and I am a dentist. So, I mean, this kind of is our area. So I thought this would be a perfect marriage. So that was when I started the uphill climb that usually is with most dental boards since, and not to denigrate the people that donate their time because it's a thankless position for sure. But most people that, and this is a large generalization, but most people that can do that are well into their careers and are not looking for the next new thing in dentistry. And I remember, and I'm not going to say his name because he's probably loved and revered by many people if he's still on the planet. But I remember calling the dental board and saying, you know, I'd like to see if we can do facial injectables in dentistry. And this person said, "Oh yeah, well, we're going to get back to you." And so he didn't get back to me. So I called him back and his answer was, "You know, Gigi, I guess I'm just one of those old-fashioned dentists that thinks, you know, we should be doing amalgams." And I thought, oh man, this is going to be a severe incline. So it took some time, but you know, I'm from New Jersey originally, so I'm pretty persistent.
That's why I love you.
Right?
I didn't know that. What exit?
What exit?
Big hearts coming out now. Big hearts.
What exit, Gigi? You remember?
Pardon?
What exit?
Oh, no, see, I'm not off the turnpike. I was off of the Garden State Parkway.
Okay, which one?
So, and I don't remember. I think it was like 91 or something like that.
That was close. I was 123.
So what city? You were probably
Old Bridge.
Okay, so I don't even like
Central.
Like Jersey. But yeah,
I hesitate to say this, but the Penn State of New Jersey.
Okay. All right. So I was from the armpit of New Jersey. Yeah. So but anyway, I was persistent and I was dogged and I wound up, that's one of the reasons why I got involved in organized dentistry is I thought if I had a cabal, it would be much more powerful. And now here we are, you know what, 16 years later.
So when you did that, were you involved in actually changing the Dental Practice Act, I guess, in Maryland to allow for that to happen?
So no, because Maryland is kind of interesting in that it has a couple of things. It had a few things going for it. And one was it ultimately went up to the state's attorney general at that time, who, because somebody got annoyed at someone. I didn't step out and start doing it because I do play inside the sandbox and don't throw it out. So somebody else got in trouble, and one of the inspectors at the state board level knew what I was trying to do, and he called me up and he said, Gigi, I got to talk to you. I think you need to hear this. So it went up to the state attorney general, and the state attorney general came back with a pronouncement that said, well, guess what? It's not, there's nothing in your scope that says you can, but there's nothing that says you can't. So if you want to change the law, you can bring this to the state legislature, but you might have an uphill climb, or you can just keep moving along as you are. And then once it's in a dental school, because of the way our scope of practice is written,
I see.
we are now completely, anything that's taught in an accredited dental school is within our purview of practice. So
one of the challenges that we have in North Carolina, where we can't administer any Botox or injectables at all. There's a few exceptions to that.
You can't do it at all, JB?
No, so there have been a few exceptions given, but as a general practice act within our state, we can't. Oral surgeons that have the DDSMD designation can operate and do Botox. And there are a few doctors that have been sort of grandfather claused in to do TMJ injections, but that's the limit of what we're allowed to do.
So you're not allowed to do anything even in the perioral area? Because I thought we were one of the most restrictive states in South Carolina. We can do whatever we want as long as it's from here to here.
We're not allowed to do.
Even if I wanted to give a TMJ injection, I can't.
Right.
I do,
the only ones that I know that are doing it are, is this recorded?
No, don't worry.
The only ones that I know that are allowed to do it are OMFS. And then, like I said, there are a few docs, I think somehow got grandfather claused in. But my interpretation from the board has always been with this, with sedation, with sleep. How do we regulate it? How do we verify that dentists are qualified and competent to do it? We don't want the paperwork. We don't want to have to review cases. And quite frankly, to your point, they're not qualified really to be the overarching authority on whether you did it right or not, because the majority of them probably wouldn't be trained to do some of these newer techniques that are coming out. So I'm curious about what that process might look like and what some of the resistance is.
Honestly, I think in North Carolina, of all states, given its jaded and checkered history, I would think they would be very receptive to your argument, because it is somewhat restrictive if you have neighboring states, and you do border with Tennessee, don't you? Do you border?
A little bit, on the west.
And Kentucky, no, Kentucky you might not. But some of the states that you border with, somebody just lives right across the border, they're in direct competition with those individuals, and it's an anti-competitive thing if your state doesn't allow somebody who is right next door to be able to do it. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, scope of practice is not something that is unique to dentists. It's not something that's unique to this decade even. Scope of practice has been looked at since the mid-90s. And the Institute of Medicine has looked at this and done large consensus papers on it. And I mean, through the history, the whole business of licensure, if you understand it, it kind of makes sense, and it makes you understand why people would be covetous and why they're careful about perhaps stepping on toes. So let's backtrack a little bit and understand that the first people to create a licensing board were medicine. And so what medicine did was they pretty much incorporated everything they possibly could have put under that umbrella, because what were they trying to do? They were trying to protect people from the charlatans that were out there. So made good sense. But then anybody else who came in later on was like, oh, but we don't want to step in on their toes. And I mean, when you think about it, there's so much overlap. It's really, you can't say that dentistry ends here and medicine begins there. There's just so much overlap. And the Institute of Medicine is really saying that, people have to be able to practice within their zone of education. So this is certainly our zone of education. And you could make a very strong argument that, yes, a medical license says you can practice medicine, but there's not one medical doctor alive that can do everything in medicine. There's not one dentist. I would never be able to find my way. I could probably figure it out if I did a nice YouTube thing, I guess, and put an implant in. But I mean, nobody can do it all. So it is up to the practitioner. And I kind of bristle at the idea when people say, well, you know, the board insists on a certain amount of hours of education. Well, I've never seen a board say I have to have a certain amount of hours of education to put an implant in. And that's a lot more invasive than a Botox injection. Yeah. And it has long-lasting consequences. And unless you get a boatload of Botox, you're not killing somebody with Botox, you know, and no one's going to bleed to death because of Botox. So, so there's a lot of ways that we can lift the scab off of this problem that we're experiencing with all boards. And now that there is a dental school that teaches all of these modalities, that has to, why would you allow someone to graduate from Boston University and then come to and want to practice in North Carolina when they're going to be restricted? They can't do the full panoply of services that they've been taught. So,
well, and why is it too? I'm sorry, JB, but I've got to interject here. Why is it then that so someone can become an esthetician in South Carolina and provide all of these injections that we're talking about? And this is nothing against estheticians.
Sure.
But my point is that with the extensive head and neck anatomy training that we have and our understanding of the nerves and arteries and vessels, I would highly doubt that there is anyone more educated other than maybe a facial plastic surgeon, anyone more educated in the anatomy than we are. And you teach this yourself. You know, in your courses, you do a head and neck dissection, you know, to show everybody the anatomy that they're dealing with. How is an esthetician? I guess my argument is always this to the boards, and maybe it's the wrong argument to make. Why is it that an esthetician is allowed to provide these types of injections, but a trained dentist is not?
Yeah. And Jeff, I really think it's largely because, and I saw this when I was doing presentations to the Maryland board, when I was first trying to get this going, they don't even know what they don't know. They don't understand what these modalities do. Usually when I teach a class, people come into the class and not knowing what what's the difference between Botox and fillers? What does one do that the other doesn't? How do they differ? Most of the people in at the board level are dealing with other stuff, and this is not something that's even come over their desk. So first they need to be educated and understand what's going on. And then I truly believe they have to understand the etymology and the history of boards and licensure and the scope of practice, and why are we genuflecting? Because boards are all equal. There is no one board that's higher than the other. Mm-hmm. But boards have always tried to flex, you know, from cosmetic or cosmetology to veterinarian. There's never been a time in history when one of those boards has not tried to limit the ability for somebody to be competitive, right? So they've tried to protect their turf. That's what these usually are about. They're turf protection problems, and boards are so afraid of pissing off another board. You know, it's just so goofy. Come on, we all do the same thing. There was a time in history when nurses weren't allowed to use a stethoscope. Now, isn't that stupid? I mean, just it's that grotesque.
Well, they are girls.
Well, that's true.
I'm sorry. It's just funny. It was timely. I thought it was good. I'm sorry. It was inappropriate. I apologize.
There went half your audience.
I can play with you guys.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
Because we know the real truth. We're very comfortable.
Well, what else can I tell you? How can I help you?
Well, I had two questions. One, moving more towards clinical, but we'll stay in the vein of boards for just a quick step. Is there a national organization that from a dental perspective for dental facial aesthetics, not the AACD, but something more focused on, because here's what we've seen, for instance, in sleep. We had a couple national organizations that started driving the parameters, and because the boards in general, and I can speak to North Carolina specifically, were uninformed and uneducated about sleep dentistry in general, they turned to these groups to create parameters and structure around how they were going to regulate and supervise sleep dentistry. And one of the things that came out of that, for instance, was a requirement for the number of hours that a dentist had to have over a certain time period every other year in order to be able to remain competent to do sleep dentistry. And we argued against that because, to your point, there's never been any other modality within dentistry that had some type of parameter wrapped around it. And so I'm curious to know, if I'm a board member right now, who am I turning to other than grassroots members for direction or a compiled list of do's and don'ts and suggestions on how to stay within the lanes and maintain a safe scope of practice?
Yeah. Well, there is no codified group that's a subset in as dentistry would be, and I think that's right and proper, because it's not something it's not specific to dentistry.
Right.
I mean, there's nurses, there's, like Jeff said, estheticians, and there's core specialists and non-core specialists that are doing this. So so I don't think that's a good direction anyway. I think what they could do is, so for instance, Georgia. So you neighbor with Georgia. What has Georgia done? They decided that they wanted to have 21 hours. And to be honest with you, I mean, it's lousy for the time commitment, but it's wonderfully indulgent. And I really get to do very deep dives into the subject matter. So it's wonderful. So they set that, and they also have a regulation where, as someone who gives the CE for them, I had to submit all kinds of information to be codified by them. And I actually had to appear in front of the board and speak to them. So I had to fly down. There was a whirlwind tour, just a one day. So they asked questions, and then I flew out and got the approval. But and anybody who wants to teach the course and give a certification in Georgia must go through that same process. I had the same thing.
That's good to know, because what I worried about was, my fear when boards start throwing this hour requirement out there, you get kind of, and I hate to say it, you get like the bottom feeders that say, oh, guess what? Georgia's got a requirement. We're going to go throw a course in about Botox and fillers. And these are people that really are not qualified to be teaching.
Anyone can do that still, but you can't be, I think even on the state board website, you can see who is and is not, or you can see who is allowed to do it.
Well, at least, that's a pro.
A lot of people don't even know that, though, Jeff. Like they don't realize that they have to have a certificate. People are amazingly unaware of their license and the demands that are made upon them as being a licensee. And we don't do a very good job, I think, in dentistry in explaining that to people as well. There's a lot of great unknowns that we all blissfully, don't know about. But anyway, so I think you could potentially do that. But I mean, you now have a major university that does this, and it's not a course that's an elective. Every D3 and advanced standing student must take the course. It's kind of like endo or perio. Even if you don't plan on doing it, you must be exposed to it. And so kudos to Dean Hunter of BU for doing that. And there's a lot in it. There's the core anatomy. We go through embryology. We go through oromandibular dystonias. We do a lot of stuff that's not stuff that I really like to do, but it's certainly germane to what they should understand and have firm footing in. So you could have your state board say, why don't you get in touch with BU, because they actually have a program. So, and that would also tell them, because state boards have no clue what's going on in dental schools either. So they probably don't even know that this is taught at a major university.
Probably not, because they're very geographic specific as well. And for a while, they were actually pretty protectionist as well. So, you know, you're arguing, well, why would a BU graduate come to North Carolina to practice? And I would tell you 10 years ago, they didn't care. I mean, they, you know, or 15 years ago, when I first came into dentistry, that was the first time that UNC started to actually accept reciprocity, you know, from outside states, and to allow dentists to come in without having to sit for board exams. And it was a specific North Carolina state board exam in order to be able to be credentialed in North Carolina. So I think, you know, we're still kind of slowly moving into more of a nationalistic view of dentistry and how different doctors are educated, and lots of different opportunities that I think is still not quite accepted here.
So JB, let me jump in, because we're running a little short on time, and Gigi, God knows I want to have you back on again.
I'd love to come back
and talk more. But I guess before we go, though, if dentists are wanting to learn more about becoming qualified to administer facial injections, what would be the best path, and where can they find you? Because, you know, one thing I will say is that, you know, I've taken your course. There is a head and neck dissection involved in it. You will know the subject matter when you finish. So I would love for everyone out there to know, you know, where they can find you, and where they might be able to take some of your courses in the upcoming future.
Thank you, Jeff. So first thing I would say is, you know, this is a national program, DINKS. So I would say make sure you're in a state that actually permits it, because you don't want to go dropping a bunch of dough on a course that you come back to North Carolina and say, oh crap, I can't. Oh my gosh, Chad. You come back to
Did
North
you do
Carolina.
your own injectable?
Mm-hmm.
You missed.
You missed. But
Mario.
independent of that, I would say there's plenty of courses out there. You'll probably wind up taking a number of them. I would love for you to take mine. I do think that mine has, it's got the most, the densest backbone with respect to the pharmacology and the anatomy and everything else that I believe you need to know. So you can find me on the net at Aesthetic Seminars with an E, aestheticseminars.com. Or if you look up Gigi Faces, I usually pop up in your Google search. And yeah, so anything you'd like to know, just let me know, Jeff and JB and Chad.
So we thank you so much for being on.
My pleasure.
It was great to see you again. I've missed you. It's so great to see your face and all the other faces. And we're absolutely going to have you back very soon. So,
Thank you.
Gigi, thank you so much for being on. And
Actually, Gigi and I can just broadcast from Scottsdale. It'll be fine.
please, I would love that.
It'll be fine.
We should do
So-
that.
By the pool, actually.
Wait. Two things. Two
Sunny
quick
here.
things. So the first thing is
Shouldn't
that
you be talking with an Italian accent right now?
I don't know.
Two of things.
if you ever need a live patient, I could use some help up here.
Okay.
So I will be your live patient demonstration. We can drum up a deal later.
Perfect.
One question did pop up, and it said, "Can CE be required even though it's not a CODA specialty?" So I thought that was a good question, and I just wanted to ask you your thoughts on that.
CE can be, I believe the way it works is it can be required if the state decides that it must be. So for instance, I forget which one of the Dakotas, North or South Dakota, has restrictions, and you must take one of their courses. I'm certified there, certified in New Mexico, New Jersey, and Georgia. So those are the states that require a certain number of CE hours to actually be able to legally inject. And so the other states, I haven't heard of anything. California's kind of different because they have that very narrow scope as well. So
I have a proposition, and it'll be here before we know it, but Jeff and I are both lecturing in Austin, as are you. It's an AGD event. JB is going to be there because we will make her.
Yes.
But how about we do a Facebook Live when we're all together?
I love it.
In Austin at the AGD in June, and
Brilliant.
that'll be your next time. And we'll do it on an odd day. I believe it's Thursday through Sunday, but let's do an AGD live event over a cocktail at, I know Austin really well. We'll do it at I've got the perfect place. So let's do it.
Fantastic.
Roadshow.
I'll be in.
I have one
Right.
requirement.
Yeah.
That is not coming with us.
What?
Your face. The mustache.
Hey, I do weird things when you don't allow me to be on the show. You told me to get off for 30
I
minutes,
did.
so I went.
I did. And then we leave you to your own devices.
But
We
no,
just thought you were in the
Gigi,
bathroom
most
like
of the
usual.
words, most of the words that Gigi said, Chad didn't understand anyway. So
but we are going to do a live show from a very crypt
That's
bar
very
called
cool.
the Cloakroom in Austin that only a few people know of, and it will be amazing.
Is the lighting good? The girls got to have good lighting.
yeah.
I will bring lights.
Bring lighting.
I will bring lights.
And Gigi, Chad and I need to be done by that point.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
not instantaneous.
yeah. We'll need 2 weeks prior,
Uh-oh.
but maybe we can inject one of you on screen.
I've never been told I was a
I love it.
2-week project.
No, Jeff, that's generous, man. I'm usually
Yeah, I agree.
1 month, 6 week project. So hey, cheers, buddy. So,
Oh gosh! Thank you all so very
Thank you,
much.
Gigi.
I really
Great having you,
I'm looking
Gigi.
forward to Austin now, like I wasn't before.
Yeah.
just wait. You're gonna see Austin like you've never seen it
You
before.
might take those words back.
Yeah.
Bring a mask, I think,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Cheers.
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 Bye, Gigi.
Bye bye. Thank you again.
Okay.
Maybe you can bring a pocket light, like, the Loom Cube. We can bring the Loom Cube. See this little guy?
Oh, hey,
I can put it in my purse.
you just wait. When I'm so excited that I get to show you one of my cities. It's gonna be a ball. It's gonna be a ball.
COVID better be
I've
dead
been
by
to one
then.
of your cities and I came back with COVID.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick before you go to your announcements, if we might want to think about Gigi before then, especially if vaccines come online for dentists. She's actually, we didn't get into that tonight, but
I know. That's
she's a
whole
wealth
other
of
topic.
knowledge on that as well. So if, as you know, several articles have already started to suggest that dentists may be on the front line of administering those vaccines. She would be awesome to have back for that as well, just to kind of talk. And I know the AGD Dental Practice Council is very engaged at looking at the different types of vaccines that are out there and modalities for delivery. So it would be a fun combo.
I've never been shy, but I will say, let's do a live show from Gigi's office, and she can inject both Jeff and I on live TV. Like,
Yes.
2 weeks before Austin.
Yeah, we have to go
and
there
then we show the
before.
results.
yeah, let's do it. So, Gigi, we're coming to you.
Gigi,
Ah!
your worst nightmare
Yeah.
is now reality.
She may want to pre-treat you 6 months, like now.
Yeah,
Because we're
yeah.
taking some deep
Wow.
lines down, boys.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a world.
Well, with
With
that
men
being
with
said, I'm
big
going to
wrinkles.
close with announcements.
All right, before we do announcements, I've got 2 things to say.
Oh my God.
2 things real quick. One, Coastal Carolina, baby. ESPN is coming to Conway, South Carolina for the No, that's not teal. For the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. I just had to put that out there. ESPN game day in Conway this Saturday. Watch.
That's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
That is,
And I got my sprint ray this week.
yeah,
Oh.
that is- hey, that's awesome too.
Got my 3D printer and I'm excited.
Was that thing number 2?
That was number 2. And we're running out of time, so I'm going to hand it over. I just had to get those 2 things out.
Okay, real quick. I think I had 2 things too, but you might have made me forget one of them. But one of the things that I'd like to mention is that on Sundays, we are having a lot of requests for education to be promoted on our site. And I love it because we are an education-centric site. So with that being said, I don't want to get educational event after educational event after educational event. So on Sunday, we are going to start a new sort of kind of plug away, kind of a Sunday education day. And you are welcome to post any educational event that you would like in that event on Sunday. The second thing that I want to say is that on Monday, the three of us are coming to you to talk about digital dentistry. And if you have any interest in a digital scanner, trust me, you will want to be a part of this webinar. It has nothing to do with the three of us. We're not promoting us. I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, we're going to make it lighthearted and fun, and we're going to give you some great educational content. But the sponsor of the event has a really great promotional offer for the end of the year on a scanner. And I don't have any idea what the scanner is, but we all use the, what scanner is it that we use in the practice?
I forget, it begins with an I.
It ends with an O. Oh, the iTero. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's it.
And the third thing is Big Brother Jeff, do you have anything to say? Because I do.
About Friday?
No, about maybe tomorrow night.
Shut.
About JB?
JB has a great webinar tomorrow night. And my personal goal is that I told JB, when you're presenting, don't ever worry about how many people you're presenting to. I want her to have 1,200 plus people that she's presenting to, because JB is a wealth of knowledge and we want her to have the best event ever. So
tomorrow is your PPO event, isn't it?
It is.
Good for you. I'm so excited.
Your little girl is growing up.
I know. My little girl's gone to the debutante ball.
Those boys better behave.
They better behave.
It'll be a good lecture. We're doing it a part of the Dental Practice Council, and it'll be fun. We're going to talk a lot. I hope everybody leaves just really armed with the right information to make decisions about how PPOs fit in their practice, whether they do or they don't. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm not used to a webinar where I like this. It's banter, it's feedback. So you're kind of talking to a dead, cold, empty space.
But
yeah, you're going to do great.
Wow, I've never been referred to that way before.
Yeah.
No.
we're really proud of you, JB.
We are. And I have to throw a little shameless plug out to so watch JB tomorrow. And then if you get really inspired on Friday, I'm going to be doing a lecture with Mark Geisberger and Tom Viola on the Midway Education site. And we're going to be talking about pharmacology and the medical history as one of the most overlooked things in dentistry as a reason for case failure. So we've got some really cool CE coming up. So you got tomorrow with JB, you got Friday with me, Mark Geisberger, and Tom Viola. And then Monday, you got the DINKS again.
It's the end of the year CE crush, last minute CE hours. Don't be delinquent.
And I'm just going to tell you, if you've never seen Mark Geisberger and Tom Viola speak, you are in for a real treat.
Well done, my friend. Well done.
I'm just kidding. The three of them, it is going to be spectacular. So, Jeff, would you please post that tomorrow outside of the education link?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. And look also for the Dinky Deal special on Schedule Widget. And be sure to catch the iTero thing, because there's going to be a really good Dinky Deal on the iTero when we finish that lecture Monday. So just be sure to tune in. We went a little bit over, but I think we had a lot of great content tonight.
Fun.
A lot of fun.
And guys, I am drunk because I haven't had a drink in like 2 weeks.
Can you taste it?
Huh?
Can
I
you
can.
taste
I have smell and taste.
statistics?
Yeah.
Defy the odds.
All right. I feel like Chad. Like I'm ready to just go to bed and wet my pants.
Don't make me bring the catheter up again.
And not
I'll
in that
do it.
order.
Oh, cheers, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night. Are we off yet?
No.
I haven't seen the